Okay, it's late, and you're probably wondering why I'm making a video about Elizabello II right now. Allow me to clarify, because this is something that I wish I was making One Piece content when this occurred in the manga. That happens a few times. Like, I wish I was reviewing One Piece when Ace died. You know, not just because of all the donut jokes I could have made, but also just that was a really emotional part of the story that I would have liked to share with all of you at the time, okay? You know, or, you know, even further back, you know, if I was reviewing stuff when the Mary was burned or something, like that was before I was even reading One Piece, right? I was way, way back. I think like the 4Kids dub was still airing, you know, when that was going on, all right? I wasn't even reading the manga yet, okay? But there is one moment that occurred in Dressrosa that I wasn't reviewing One Piece, but I was watching people on the internet that did review One Piece. This was back when I was mostly tackling Bleach during the day. Remember 2000 and probably like 14, 2015, around that time, okay? It was in Dressrosa, and we had the reveal of a bunch of new characters in the Corradia Coliseum tournament, the closest thing to a proper tournament arc we've ever really had in One Piece. I mean, I guess, you know, Davy Backfight wasn't really a tournament. You know, this was more of a battle royale. Still kind of waiting on that. Oda has tackled so many other common shonen tropes in this story. It would be really cool if we had a Dragon Ball, you know, Tenkaichi Budokai tournament in One Piece, you know, or like a dark tournament kind of setup. You know, probably not going to happen at this point. I mean, unless you want to fit something in an Elbaf, but, you know, it would be neat. Anyway, we have the Coliseum at Dressrosa. All these characters are showing up, right? We got Bartolomeo, we got Cavendish, we got Hiruden, and we have Elizabello II, who is very notable because not only was he a fighter in this tournament, he was the king of an entire nation, still is. I mean, he's a king of the Protence Kingdom, right? And actually did show up in the last chapter reacting to Vegapunk's message. So if there's ever a time I'm going to talk about this, it's probably now, because I don't think he's going to be showing up quite a bit for the rest of the story. Maybe he'll pop in at the very end and be like, the Protence Kingdom is doing fine, you know, that'll be it or whatever. But anyway, so his big thing, probably the only thing that people remember him for, but people remember a lot of him for it, okay, is he has a special ability. It's not a devil fruit ability. From what we understand, it's not even really a hockey ability, okay? He has the ability to punch things really hard. But you don't understand. I didn't use enough reallys there. He has the ability to punch things really, 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 really hard, okay? So hard, in fact, that Oda dropped a little bit of a power scaling garnish on this ability. So he's there in Block B. And he has his retinue. He has, like, his advisors and his bodyguards and all of, like, his royal guard, because he has a king, all entering the tournament with him, and they're all kind of surrounding him, and they're kind of protecting him, because this really, really strong one punch that he's got takes an entire hour to charge up. You thought Dragon Ball Z was bad with that shit. You thought it was crazy. Like, remember way back at the beginning of Z when Goku and Piccolo were fighting Raditz? Which, by the way, do you just find it hilarious that we got introduced to Goku's brother and instantly killed off? Not relevant. Like, nah, yeah, Goku has a brother. By the way, he's dead. Don't worry about it. But anyway, yeah, they're fighting Raditz, and Piccolo is like, I gotta charge the Makakosapo. It's gonna take 5 minutes. And Goku's like, all right, I'll try to hold him off, right? You thought that shit was bad. Like, Goku, hey, like later in Namek, hey, I'm charging the Spirit Bomb, everybody. It's gonna take, like, I don't know, 10, 20 minutes to charge this thing. Have fun with Final Form Frieza. You know what I mean? Like, that's gonna be fun, right? No, not even that. An hour startup time for an attack. But the result, as Oda himself said, this is canon in the story. This is not some random, you know, headcanon stuff from some people online like me. No, this is canon One Piece. Rumor has it that a fully charged King Punch from this guy could even injure a Yonko. Whoa! Yeah, and as I scoot back over here, this is back in, like I said, 2014, 2015. Actually, it might have been even 2013. It was a while ago, right? It was over 10 years ago, okay? This is when we had really yet to see what the Yonko were, like, truly, truly capable of. I mean, we saw some stuff with Shanks. We saw some stuff with Whitebeard. Whitebeard was old. He was kind of sick. But we saw the kind of shit Whitebeard could pull off at Marineford, right? We've really yet to see what Big Mom and Kaido were capable of. That was coming up soon. But, like, you got to understand, at this time period, the Yonko were, like, top of the top. I mean, they still are. But, like, back then, it was like, oh, my God, the Yonko. These are some people that Oda has been setting up for years. This is going to be wild when we finally get to these Yonko, right? And the way that they were set up and established, it wasn't like we found out about the Yonko and then Luffy immediately goes to challenge the Yonko. No, we find out about the Yonko, like, post Enies Lobby, right? And it takes several years for Luffy to finally confront one of them, okay? It takes a lot of build-up, a lot of hype, okay? I don't know if Oda intended there to be as much hype as there was, but in the community during that time period, Yonko stocks were through the roof. They were the mysterious final bosses of One Piece for as far as we knew, all right? And here comes a guy, this guy, and he's just like, yeah, full charge punch could injure a Yonko, and everyone lost it over that. I remember so many people like, what? And that's why, I wish I was reviewing One Piece Weekly at this time. I would have had a field day with that. A punch that could stagger a Yonko. What? Now, I remember, this line being taken a little bit more, it was like exaggerated a touch from anything from, oh, it's confirmed that this punch can kill a Yonko, to confirm that, it's equal in power to a Yonko, all the way down to, well, he just said it would injure a Yonko. For all we know, this King Punch could, like, I don't know, lightly sprain Kaido's pinky or something like that. Like Elizabello's like, all right, here we go. Rocky music. Dun 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 dun. King Punch! Brings it on and Kaido just blocks it with his own hand and just, ow. Glug, glug, glug. That kind of hurt. Whatever, and just slaps Elizabello into the next freaking universe, right? So I've seen everything on the power scale meter from one end to the other, It's not really as strong as you think, all the way up to he can one-shot a Yonko with that. That was the favorite one, the one-shotting. It was, he can one-shot a Yonko! By the way that it was stated in the story was, it wasn't like Elizabello fought a Yonko. It wasn't anything like that. It wasn't like, oh yeah, Elizabello II, he fought Kaido. Rumor has it, yeah, he fought Kaido like 10 years ago, and he gave Kaido that scar. No, it wasn't even that. It was more of just like, the destructive power of the punch was so, devastating, that the rumor began, probably in his own kingdom, probably his own retinue were the ones spreading that rumor of like, wow, the king's punch is like really strong. How strong do you think? I could picture his royal guard getting drunk at the local tavern in the Prudence Kingdom and just being like, who do you think he could beat with that punch, man? I don't know. I think Whitebeard. Seriously, you think Whitebeard? Yeah, they're probably having the same power scaling debates that people in the community do, right? And eventually they just get drunk and they start spreading the rumor all over the kingdom, and then that eventually spreads to other kingdoms. Like, did you hear Elizabello II can one-shot a Yonko with his punch? It's like, yeah, I heard. It's crazy, right? So what is the actual damage this thing can output? Well, it was mentioned that he destroyed an entire fortress with the punch. And we see a little bit of it in the anime. We see the punch blasting a hole through the, the fortress wall, going further and destroying the castle on the other side of that wall. Now, that's certainly an impressive feat, you know, like, if you look at the power scaling of One Piece back during, like, East Blue, you know, where, you know, when Mihawk showed up and sliced a galleon in half, that was, like, mind-blowing levels of shit when we saw it back then, right? Nowadays, not so much. I mean, really, honestly, after the time skip, you know, power scaling had gone up a bit. Now Zoro can slice a ship in half, and it was cool, undoubtedly, but, like, battleship level is kind of surpassed that, you know? When Zoro is slicing up Mountain Pika at the end of Dressrosa, and now Luffy is fighting with actual, like, demon gods at Egghead, you know? Like, we've scaled up a little bit since then, so the King Punch is not as impressive now as it probably was like 10 years ago. At this point, Luffy has defeated Kaido, and Law and Kid defeated Big Mom, and we've definitely gotten the handle of the level of damage they can incur. And let's not, like, they're not dead. Like, Big Mom's not dead, Kaido's not dead. You know, they're gonna, you know, I don't know if they're gonna be prominent villains or enemies for the Straw Hats from this point moving forward, because they've already kind of bested them, but are they out of the story for good? Like, we're never gonna see them again? Most likely not. They're gonna pop back in again at some point. But we saw the level of strife that Luffy had to do to beat Kaido. I mean, like, look, let's look at it this way, and this is probably giving King Elizabello II a lot of credit, and I understand that, but look at the level of damage Kaido was able to take from Zoro, right? Like, Zoro was up there on the roof, and he's like, you know, he's pretty beat up at this point, but he's like, all right, look, here's the deal. I am giving Kaido my strongest move. I am doing Ashura with the Haki, with this new Enma sword I got, really cool, and I'm using my strongest move, which for right now in Zoro's repertoire would be the Dead Man's Game. It's like, I'm just gonna go full on. After this is over, I am going to be useless. So this is Zoro, like, tapping out, like, exhausting his tank. He's like, this is it. I'm giving him everything I have. I am going to be useless in this fight after, unless you have some mink medicine that'll magically cure me until I can fight King. Until you find that, this is it. He uses it against Kaido, and it hurts Kaido. It damages Kaido. Kaido gets slashed really bad by this. He even states that, you know, this is going to leave a scar, and he commends Zoro and honors him for, like, you know, this was a good attack, okay? But it did not drop Kaido. It did not knock him out. Kaido didn't get knocked flat or anything like that. He got hurt, but he's like, it's not enough. And Zoro was like, all right, so that's where I stand right about now, okay? So, you know, to give Elizabello II some credit, let's say the King Punch was able to do that much damage to Kaido. Boom! Punches him square in the chest. Oh! He knocks Kaido back a bit. Kaido starts bleeding a touch. Got a big bruise right on the center of his chest, and he's like, ugh, I'm gonna need some booze. That was a good attack. I think you might have cracked one of my ribs there. Damn. Well, got any more in you? And Elizabello's got to have, he has a little bit of a cool down period after that. He's like, no, that was pretty much the strongest move I had. He's like, oh, well, I could turn into a dragon still, so, you know. So even if we're going to go that logic with it, and that much damage, like, that wouldn't have, one-shotting a Yonko, not the same thing as injuring a Yonko. It doesn't have to be just like a slight little finger sprain. It could be some damage, but Kaido still got way more endurance, way more strength, way more defensive capabilities, way more stamina, way more booze to handle all of that, right? Okay, and that's assuming the King Punch is on that level. Even further than that, like, okay, let's talk about, you know, when Luffy was in Gear 4th, right before the Cypher Pull Zero agent showed up and messed up Luffy's attack, and, you know, Kaido slammed him down and everything like that. That, like, Supreme King Kong gun, you know, combining Conqueror's Haki with armament, and he was like, this is my final attack, because that was the strongest Luffy had at that point. He didn't know about Gear 5th yet, all right? That was the strongest move Luffy had. He was going to use it on Kaido. Even if Luffy was able to connect, that would have not have finished Kaido off. We understand this because Luffy was still, I mean, Kaido was still able to keep going on with Gear 5th Luffy for a while. It wasn't like, you know, after Luffy goes Gear 5th, one attack from that was able to finish off Kaido. Kaido still had a lot of gas left in the tank after that, so that Gear 4th Conqueror's Hockey Punch was not going to be enough. So even if you want to say that was on the level of King Punch, which I think even now people are like, all right, maybe that was taking a little, you're maybe giving this a little bit too many stocks with that. The sheer amount of force that would require to one-shot a Yonko, I don't even know if Oda's ever even gonna go there. You know what I mean? Because that would, like, cheapen their overall power, right? Like, even Shanks versus Whitebeard, or Shanks versus Big Mom Kaido, whoever. Shanks is not one-shotting any of those characters. It's not gonna happen. Same for Mihawk. You know, you can say whatever you want about Shanks' ability. You can say whatever you want about Mihawk's ability. They are not one-shotting each other. It's not happening, okay? Maybe you think it could, but I sincerely doubt it, right? So, yeah, it's more of just an idea of just, like, crazy, strong power scaling, right? Like literally we're gonna give him the Saitama punch. All right, but it was never stated to be that. That's my point. It was never stated in the story, this can one-shot a Yonko. That was not the way it was explained. It was, this could injure a Yonko, all right? And people took that and blew it up to crazy proportions. But that's kind of the fun of it, right? So the one application, the one time we've seen him use it at its full strength is he charges it up before the battle. Smart. In a tournament setting, this could work really well because you know when your time is. Like, oh, we're in block B, so we got until the end of fight A in order to charge up my punch. So he starts charging the punch up. He gets in the ring. He has his guard protecting him. Everybody gets knocked out, and he finally releases the punch. And it's like a nuke going off. It's like, King Punch! You know, he's punching an atom. He's like, bring it on, atoms. He's like punching the atoms like a speed bag and just causing a ground zero nuclear explosion, right? So he sets it off. It lights up the whole arena, knocks out every other remaining fighter except for one. And that would be Bartolomeo. Because Bartolomeo's got the barriers, baby. So he uses the barrier fruit, blocks the King Punch, and Elisabella's like, wait, you can do that? And Bartolomeo's like, yep, I can do that. And then slams the barrier into Elisabella's face, knocks him out of the arena, and Bartolomeo wins Block B. And that is when you realize the whole point that Oda was trying to make with the King Punch was not to hype up Elisabello. It wasn't to hype up, like, yeah, he's a punch that could beat a Yonko. It wasn't supposed to be for Elisabello. It was supposed to hype up Bart. It was supposed to show how powerful, not the King Punch, but the barrier fruit was. Because the whole idea of the barrier fruit is it creates force fields that can block things, right? Well, you gotta be able to, like, showcase that in the, like, oh, they're barriers that can block anything? Well, how is anything, you know? Like, could it block, Zoro's Dead Man's game? Could it block Kaido's final, like Boro Breath Lava Dragon mode? Could it block Big Mom's, like, Mazer Cannon or something? Could it block a full power double, well, Shanks only has one arm. Provided Shanks had two arms, okay? Alternate universe Shanks, 2 arms, on Griffin, hockeyed up rage mode. Could it block that? Well, we don't have Kaido or Big Mom or Whitebeard or Shanks to showcase. So the closest thing that Oda could do was like, I'm just going to introduce a character that has a really, really strong punch. And I guess to give it some flavor, I'm going to have to say it can at least injure a Yonko. The barrier could block that without a problem. Bart is completely unharmed after that attack. And then he's like, okay, boom, slams it into Elisabello and takes him out, right? So that was the whole point of the King Punch. It's used later in the arc, or at least a downgraded version of it is used. Not even to really injure any of the Doflamingo family. Zoro uses it as cleanup because he's like, I'm going to go and slice up Pika, but that's going to cause a bunch of debris and boulders to fall from the sky and crush a bunch of people. So I'm going to need you to use that attack to just blast away that debris. And Elizabello's like, wait, you're using my ultimate punch, my ultimate technique to destroy boulders. Actually, no, I think that was a full power King Punch. He used the lighter version earlier. I think there was like Pika was going to go like grab them, and he used the light version to like break up Pika's hand. But he does have the full power version later, and he just uses that to knock it away. That's Oda basically saying, yeah, don't focus too much on this technique. It wasn't really ever meant to be super relevant. Yeah, I just used it for this. I used it to showcase how strong Bartolomeo's defenses were, and then I showed it to clean up boulders. And that's probably it. Although, I will say, it would be funny if in the final war, Elizabello shows up again, and he does use the King Punch on somebody, right? Like, Eneru comes down from the sky. I have returned. Bring me your strongest warrior. He's like, oh, that guy? Okay, boom! And Eneru gets hit by the King Punch head on. You also question things like, I guess hockey might be involved with this. I don't know. I mean, clearly, there was no Logias in the tournament, so I mean that way, or at least there was no Logias in block, B when he was fighting. So in that regard, you didn't have to worry about that. But if there's no hockey involved, this punch would be completely like Logia would just pass right through them. Not a big deal there. If the punch was able to hit. Now, if the punch was able to hit Big Mom or Kaido, they would feel it. I feel like they would feel it. It wouldn't just be a trivial little, like, ow, whatever. Now, they would feel it, but it wouldn't be even close to injuring them to the point where they would be, defeated or even close to that, and it's a one-shot deal. Like, that's what it is, You charge up for an entire hour, you get to throw one punch, and he even had, like, the tacticians around him that were, like, coordinating, like, 4 o'clock, aim the punch at this height, because you need to have, it's like the ultimate attack in a video game. You're playing a video game, you're charging your overdrive meter, your limit break, or whatever the hell, and it's like, okay, I only get one shot using this. I gotta make sure it hits. I mean, maybe in Final Fantasy might not be the right, analogy because that's a turn-based. But like, if it was like not a turn-based RPG, if you're just up against like a final villain in a like I don't know, like Elden Ring or something, it's like you can miss. It's like I'm gonna fire this, it could miss, and then I burned my entire attack. Right? Shit. Okay. I've never played Elden Ring really. I played it for like 30 minutes, so I don't know if that was applicable either. But you know what I mean. I've definitely played games where you charge up your meter, ultimate attack, and you miss, and it's like, oh no, that wasn't good. That's gonna set me back a bit, right? So anyway, that's the King Punch. Yeah, and hey, if Elizabello II is as strong as he is now, can you imagine Elizabello I, his daddy? Where he learned the King Punch from, probably. King Punch original, that was punching out people like rocks. Like that's the ultimate punch. The Emperor Punch. The Ruler Punch. Yeah, the God Emperor Punch. That would be a good one, right? God King or something like that, yeah. Oh, also in the SBS, Oda revealed that Elizabello's favorite food, or favorite drink, I guess, is fruit punch. Which, that's perfect, right? And so, like, you can picture, like, the Kool-Aid guy. Elizabello II is basically the Kool-Aid guy in the One Piece, where, like, oh, yeah, let's punch! I could see him on a advertisement for that. That'd be cool. Anyway, that's the late night video. Hope you enjoyed. Saitama versus Elizabello II. Let's go, ladies and gentlemen. All right, that's that. End screen. Later, everybody. Signing out.